Hey everybody, Movie Reviewer Next Door here, and I'm back with the Bond series with For Your Eyes Only. This film came out in 1981, directed by John Glenn, and it stars Roger Moore, Carol Bouquet, Topol, Lynn Holly Johnson, Julian Glover, and Cassandra Harris. Now in this film, a British spy ship has sunk, and on board was a high-tech encryption device. James Bond is sent to find the device that holds the British launching instructions before the enemy Soviets get to it first. Now, that being said, what do I think of this film? In all honesty, I think it's my favorite so far. I know, I guess it's a controversial opinion. From what I've seen online, a lot of people seem to be a bit half and half on it. There were reviews that said, the first 40 minutes were fantastic and then the rest of it felt tacked on, which I very much disagree with. I think this film succeeds in having an interesting Bond girl, an interesting villain, good pacing, the action, which I'll get to. The music, Bond especially. Let me get to the casting before I get to gushing over how much I love this film. Roger Moore as James Bond. In my old review, I said that this was my favorite performance of Roger Moore as Bond. I think I'm going to stick with that, because I really love how he plays the character in this film, where you'll get times you have a character played by Lynn Holly Johnson, and she's all over Bond immediately, and he's like, no, I don't feel the same, please stop. And I like that. I like that little bit to his character. I think it's interesting to have him reject a girl like her that is clearly less than half his age, which that is something that in a couple movies that will happen in a different way, and I'm not a big fan of, and I will get to it. But here I think it makes sense that he rejects her advances, doesn't sleep with her or whatever. I think that's a really good choice, and I think it does improve certain aspects. Because if they had gone with him sleeping with BB Doll, that would have been a bit weird. Again, View to a Kill basically does it, so, and I will get to that when I get to that film. Carol Bouquet, or Bouquet, I don't know exactly how to say it. I think she is French. It wasn't her voice in the film, but still, whoever did the voice did a good job. I think she is a very interesting Bond girl. She's an interesting character in that the villain has basically taken her parents away from her, and she's basically after the line of people who took them from her. And I think that's a very interesting idea for a Bond film, having Bond have to basically save this woman who gets in over her head trying to get revenge. And while I think it would have been interesting if they did a bit more with the revenge plot, he was okay, you can get revenge, but let me make it a bit safer for you. I mean, of course, with a Bond film, they're not going to get as serious as actually being okay with revenge. I mean, it's a British movie. So many British revenge films immediately go for, oh, revenge is bad. You deserve to die if you want to get revenge, which, I mean, Get Carter did that. And I fucking hate Get Carter, the original. But yeah, I think she's a very well done and well developed character. And Carol Bouquet is definitely really nice to look at. She's definitely a gorgeous woman. She still is. At 62, I think she is. She's still looking really good. Topol, as Milos Colombo. He's kind of a guy, you're supposed to think he's the villain at the beginning, which, even when I first saw this, I was like, I'm not sure I buy this guy being the villain. And that's because he isn't. And this is not a spoiler. The trailer literally shows Julian Glover as the villain, so I don't really see that as a spoiler. But Topol, I really like in this film. I think he's a lot of fun. I think he comes off like he's really enjoying the role. And that's what I like to see in films like this. He comes off kind of like Pedro Armendáriz in as Karen Bay and in From Russia with Love. I think he comes off very similar to him. He's like very warm, inviting, but when the time comes to be serious, he can be serious, he can be scary, and I do really like this character. Here's my big issue, one of my big issues with the film. Lynn Holly Johnson as BB Doll. I understand what they're trying to do with this character. She's supposed to come off as like a pampered, like, she acts like a child. And I guess if that's what the character called for, she did her job, Lynn Holly Johnson. She's simply not an actress. And you can tell watching her. It's a good thing that she's barely in the film. She's only really in a bit of near the middle and a bit at the end. She may have like 5 minutes of screen time tops. 5, 6, something like that. But yeah, I do think they could have picked a better actress that could also ice skate. I understand they probably were like, oh, she's famous in America. This'll get the film more Americans watching it. I'm pretty sure a lot of Americans were already watching the James Bond films since they were making a shit ton of money in America. So you didn't really need to do that. But yeah, she's my main issue with the film. Julian Glover as Aristotle Christatos. I think he's a good villain. I don't think he's the best. I don't think any of these films are perfect, for sure. His villainous scheme is fine. It's mostly just, bring the ATAC to the Russians, fuck over the British. But yeah, I like Julie Glover as an actor. I liked him. I'd say he played definitely a better villain in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade as Donovan. I liked that villain a lot more, the whole temptation thing. I always really enjoyed that. And Cassandra Harris as Countess Liesel von Schlaf. She's fine. She serves her purpose. She has a scene or two. I like the scene. I think this... well, I'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, the title sequence... I like it. It's not one of the best. I like it though. It follows a similar in a similar vein to the Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker titles. Rotoscoped women, interesting background. This one, the background is mostly like water based, and Sheena Easton, who did the theme of the film, For Your Eyes Only, is in the video, and that is the only time a singer has been actually in the singer of the theme song has been in that, so it can also double as the MTV music video, which it did. They just took out the credits and had her, which makes sense. Killed two birds with one stone. It's still a very interesting title sequence, and yes, I like the song For Your Eyes Only by Sheena Easton. There were rejected songs like Charlotte Schmagi by Elizabeth Andreasen, which I do like that song, and a couple years ago it actually was put on YouTube Music, which is nice. It's a very nice song, Swedish singer. And there was also For Your Eyes Only by Blondie, which, if that song was the title theme, I would have loved that. because I've heard it. I'd love to have heard like a fully done version of it because it was basically a demo. And I do think that Debbie Harry's vocals could be a bit better. But I still do love Blondie. I think Blondie is a fantastic band. But yeah, this film. I've gone so far talking about the actors. This film is awesome. This film does everything that I'd want in a Bond film. It's gorgeous to look at. Gorgeous to look at. Beautiful setting of Greece. Greece is such an interesting place to set this in. I'd love to visit sometime. Specifically Corfu. I would love to go to Corfu. You've got the action. There's multiple action scenes that were pretty impressive. John Glenn, the director, is one of the best in the... Like, along with Lewis Gilbert, he is one of the best directors for this series for the action. And he directs this film up until License to Kill, which is awesome, because they all have some of the best action in the series. And some of the most exciting, like, bits of stunt work. In this film, like, just stunt work-wise, you have so many feats, so many, like, Guinness World Record style, like, feats of stunt work, like, Bond having to climb the mountain, and then the like thing, the like things stuck in the mountain start coming out, and you see the stuntman like falling down, like still hanging under the rope, but like falling down. It's awesome to look at, and it's very tense. There's the scene near the beginning with Bond and Blofeld, because they were having issues with Kevin McClory, who supposedly wrote the character of Blofeld in Thunderball, and he like sued them over it, so they couldn't really use Blofeld, so they had just a guy with a white cat in a wheelchair, which I guess this is supposed to be kind of a direct sequel to the scene in Diamonds Are Forever where he was banged around in the Bathosub. It's either that, or because he still has the neck brace that he did at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and there's a scene near the beginning of Bond going to the grave of Tracy Bond. So I guess this is supposed to be a direct sequel in that first scene to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, where he's actually getting revenge, instead of Diamonds Are Forever, where it kind of like half goes the revenge route but then doesn't go for it. And I actually really liked the opening scene. I think it's very exciting. It's very well done. Again, all practical, because CGI didn't exist back then. They couldn't cheat it. And it's a very exciting stunt sequence. It really is. But not just that, there's the ice skiing sequence, snow skiing sequences later on, the shootout while he's skiing, Bond like skiing past these guys like shooting at him, like hiding behind trees. Very tense sequence. This film does tension so beautifully, and I love it. Oh yeah, and with the stunt work again, like there Bond like on the outside of the plane, the helicopter that Blofeld sent to kill him, like hanging out there, getting to the front. It's I love it. I love it. Hope y'all could tell. I love this film. I love it to death. And it's not just because of the action. I'll get to the story itself, but in action, you've also got the scenes underwater, which are gorgeous, and the way that they did those was very interesting. I think Carol Bouquet had some issues like being able to film underwater, like they couldn't, something didn't work out right, so they like shot it as if it was underwater, but it's actually like back projection and stuff, and the back projection looks really damn good. It looks very convincing. And the like fake bubbles that they have coming out of her thing, like they cheated it very well. But yeah, especially the ending. Oh no, the opium like thing, like there's a shootout there, like explosions, the entire opium warehouse like explodes. Oh god, and the one moment where Kristatos, no, not Kristatos, Emil Locke is in the car and he's about to fall off the mountain, and then Bond says, "This is for Luigi," and kicks his car down the mountain, and I fucking love that. Because Roger Moore in this film, the reason I say it's his best performance is because he doesn't just rely on the whole thing of him being the cheesy or campy Bond. He tries to do something different here, and I love it. He's both serious, and he knows when the audience needs a bit of, like, you know, alleviation from the stress, the tension, and all that, and it works so well. These two things meld together so well, and I know there are people on Letterboxd and people on IMDb that are like, it's really telling this is the most serious Moore film when there's, like, all this goofy shit. The goofy stuff, like, helps. The fact that it's like a half serious, half comedic, or half, like, I guess campy, if there's no other word for it, Bond, that's how you do it. The way they did it in Skyfall, where it would be dead serious the entire film and then have, like, a couple choice moments, it didn't sit well because Daniel Craig can't act that well. Roger Moore is the best actor, to me, to play the character, because he both knows when you need alleviation from the stress. He also knows when you need, you know, fun. He knows how to make it fun and entertaining. And the scenes that he has, like, where he has to, like, act, he does really well, and he does it, like, reserved and emotional enough that you can feel something. Like, I've never really understood the people that hate on Roger Moore, and they're like, oh, all of his movies are crap. No, they aren't. The fucking Spy Who Loved Me is not a crap movie. The only one of his that I've actively not really cared for was The Man with the Golden Gun. And even though Moonraker, I gave it like a 7, I can still watch it. I just don't seek it out, because it's not really... I think it went a bit too far. And sometimes it didn't go far enough, actually. It didn't go far enough with its premise of, like, Bond in space. It felt too down to earth in a way. But yeah, this film, like, the whole villain scheme, it's, like, fine. It's, oh, we're gonna screw over the British, that kind of thing. This film feels very similar in story to From Russia with Love. With the whole, like, in From Russia with Love, it was a Lecter decoding machine, so they could decode what the Russians were saying. In this film, it is an ATAC transmitter, which shows, like, what the British, like, what is it? Launching instructions, yeah. And then you've got, like, you've got the involvement of the Russians. I do feel like this film is trying to do something similar to From Russia with Love. It's trying to do a more grounded, more realistic story, like From Russia with Love. It doesn't get outlandish with the action sequences. Again, the most outlandish it gets is the scene with the guy in the, like, diving outfit, which, I mean, other than the outfit looking a bit weird, a lot of diving equipment from back then looks very similar, so it's not really outlandish. I think these people just don't like they just don't like Roger Moore as Bond. But yeah, like, the way that this film does its characters, I really like too. Melina Havelock is a very interesting Bond girl, and the whole her wanting to get revenge for the death of her parents thing, I think, is very interesting. I mean, I think there's been other Bond girls, I can't think right now, but I think there's been other Bond girls that have been like, oh, I want to get revenge for all of this, but this is the first film to really do it where it's like, yes, she wants revenge, she wants it now, but if she gets it, we'll never find out who actually, like, did all these things. So it's not just, oh, you can't get revenge because revenge is bad. Okay. It's, you'll have to wait, and as the Chinese say, if you're going to get revenge, be prepared to dig two graves. Which, yeah, interesting, whatever. But I like how they did it here, where Bond is like, no, if you kill him, I won't be able to find out who's above him. I won't be able to find out where the ATAC is, and if we lose that, it would screw over the entire UK, and maybe even the entire world. So I liked how they did it. I really like Melina Havelock as a character. I think she's very interesting, and I like that she's mainly like, no, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm not doing you any favors. I'm doing this because I want to do it. I want revenge, and I want it now. That kind of thing. But yeah, like, other than that, like, I just love the feel of this film. I like how gritty... I like that it's gritty without being too gritty. Like, even from the first moment of the film where the like gun barrel, like, it's like da 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 bar, it just like disappears, and then it hard cuts into the scene. That should get you ready for this film, because yeah, it's very exciting, it's very tense, a lot of really well done tension, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Very well done tension, because characters die that you don't think will die. Some of the deaths come out of nowhere, but in a good way, where it's you feel that there are actual stakes involved, which quite a few of these films, even though I can still love a few of the films that do that, there is a bit of a lack of tension in a lot of them. And yeah, it's just an exciting spy thriller. It really is, and I wish more of the films took this type of tone. Because even though I do like the goofiness of, like, you know, I remember liking the goofiness of Octopussy, For Your Eyes Only, GoldenEye even to an extent, even though GoldenEye was a bit half and half as this film was. I do also admire when the series tried to do something different, and they really did with this one. Because of Moonraker, they were like, okay, that was too goofy, we need to bring it down to earth, and yeah, I think they did that very well. So, I'm going to get into my pros and cons. Pros: the actors, Roger Moore, Carol Bouquet, Topol, Julian Glover, all do great jobs. The score from Bill Conti, I love this score. This might be my favorite so far, score-wise, because it doesn't rely on the Bond theme as much as a lot of them did, and I feel like a lot of them are memorable because of their, like, variations on the Bond theme and on the opening theme. This film really branches out, and it still, while still feeling like a score of a Bond film, it becomes its own thing. And I always find it interesting when they choose to hire these different composers for certain films. It really does add something different to the films as a whole. The action, again, the mountain climbing sequence, the car chases, the underwater sequence, the scene where Bond and Melina are being like tied up in a rope, like being dragged across the coastline, like for the sharks to nip at. That was a very well done sequence. I'd say the best one was the raid on the opium plant, or opium warehouse, where they use what's at their disposal to take care of the villains, sometimes like rolling the opium barrels onto the people to like knock them out. I really liked that. Again, the setting of Greece and Corfu are very beautiful. They're very interesting settings, very exotic. And the cinematography in this film is very nice. Some very gorgeous shots. Cons, again, my main con, I have like two. I have two cons, two big ones. I think my camera's fucking up. The two that I'd say are, again, BB Doll, played by Lynn Holly Johnson. I don't really see why the character needs to be there other than to be like, oh, Bond won't sleep with her because she's too childish. I understand it, I guess, but she's really not that useful to the plot. And I do kind of wish that Christados had a bit more of an original plot to him. I really do. But yeah, I just think, other than those two things, this is as good as a Bond film can get. And I mean, maybe when I watch GoldenEye again, I'll like it more than this. I'm not really... I remember loving GoldenEye. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. But I just love this film. This is my favorite so far. Yes, it's better than Spy Who Loved Me for me. It's better than From Russia with Love. I still really like those. But yeah, I just love this film. So, that was my review of For Your Eyes Only. If you enjoyed the video, comment down below, like the video, subscribe, and Movie Reviewer Next Door out.